If you could touch on the importance of someone considering a career in the field of sustainable development, what is something that they should keep in mind about the industry?
I imagine a lot of you are here tuning into this conversation because you care about the world and you want to make a difference in how the world develops at large, right? But I've learned along the way that you can only make a really significant and real impact if you're feeling healthy, with where you're at, but also that your education goes along with your intuition. I came to Bard College to do a undergraduate degree in biology with a focus on genetic engineering was my thinking. And then I ended up becoming really interested in ecology. And that's how I then ended up doing the combined degree at the Bard Center for Environmental Policy. And part of that was realizing that as much as I was interested in science and biology, I'm very much a people's person. I wanted to engage with the larger world, that I didn't want to be based in a lab. And so I grew up in Namibia, and I only came to the US in order to attend Bard College. And then when I graduated after the wonderful experience of being at Bard, I realized that I didn't want to go into specific environmental policy, but I wanted to go more into international development, engage with larger sort of social issues that relate to the environment, but also relate to social well-being. So you can learn as much about, supply chains, about, the financial markets, and you can learn all about, everything that environmental policy has to offer. But in the end, it's about combining your lived life experience, to then choose your career direction.
The industry itself is so massive. There are so many different ways that you can go, right? So, just from having done this for quite some time and working independently, but for, private companies, mostly for big international organizations and for governments, what I found is that there's a few key questions that I wish I would have known early on so that I could kind of understand my motivations and values. So one of them that's quite important is, are you a headquarters person or are you a field person? So when you're looking for careers, look at that. Does your energy feed off of being where the big decisions are made? Or is it more really understanding, not to say that they're mutually exclusive, but is it really getting deep into the context of where you want to work? So that's one. Secondly, are you a operations person? Or are you an analytical person? Or are you more of a, driving the policy and programmatic type of person? And what that means is, are you the one that's going to understand procurement and boring things like that, plus all the technical stuff and, be able to pull all these pieces together into a project? Or are you more comfortable crunching the data and informing the people who are, directing where your organization or company or whatever is going to go based on sound evidence? Or are you more programmatic? Say you work for a grant organization or something like that, and you're the one that's steering where the money should go and who would be valid beneficiaries. So I think that is quite important too. And it's not to say, again, that you shouldn't experiment with all of these things. I've dabbled in all of them. Are you more of a connector that wants to look at lots of different things and again pull them together? Or do you have more of a niche? Can you be the climate, for me, I'll use myself as an example. I can be a climate change person. I work on water supply. I work on drainage. I work on roads, all sorts of things. And I can kind of settle down in that world and understand all the different pieces to make a project work. Some people focus in on one topic and they're really, really good and they're really, really expert at that. So kind of, I think if you're seeking a career and you're, looking at different, either looking at your graduate studies or looking at different jobs, kind of have a sit with yourself and think about those types of things and kind of know who you are in this world of development.
To add to what Amy said, right? But in terms of asking, is this project sustainable, or is this, organization sustainable? I think it's also worth asking, being like, do you want to be the person to help that organization become sustainable, right? And so perhaps, the project doesn't seem like it has the right kind of funding at that particular moment, or it has the right kinds of network. But, do you want to make an impact in helping that organization that might be fledgling actually become sustainable? I think, just so that you're sort of, you're giving organizations a chance, but also you're also giving yourself a chance to make an impact when somebody else who may not have the same vision and aim, might give up on that project.
I work in one of the organizations that has, some of the most elite people in the world making decisions about entire countries' economies. And I've seen, some of them are considered thought leaders too. And I have seen some of the most major blunders made with entire, probably not in my time, entire economies, but major projects. And so to me, what I've seen through my career is that I have learned so much more from just asking questions of people who don't have an agenda. If I'm like living and working in a city, I ride my bike around. One of my bike rides after a major flood in Dar es Salaam has resulted in a major flood control and green infrastructure project that's hopefully going to be approved soon. Talking to taxi drivers, talking to waitresses, just sitting down and having the, being able to ask the right questions, right? Like, to me, like, you don't need to necessarily consult big names. It's useful context and good to have, a good critical read of people who are at the forefront of analytical work and personal experience. But I think it's also absolutely critical to complement that with learning the place where you are, and being able to hear those types of voices of just normal people, not necessarily when you're in a work setting, but just people who are living their daily lives and what they have to say about why certain things are the way they are.